Hello and welcome everybody. Pleased to have you here. Welcome to the Clean Futures Application Support webinar. Today we'll just be running through everything that you need in order to make an application for the Clean Futures program. And we'll begin with the agenda. So the agenda for this session is we will go through the program overview, give you details on exactly what the program is, what we're looking to achieve and the objectives of it. We'll then dive into the challenges that we're looking to address in the program for this second cohort. We will go through introductions to our amazing partner facilities, and then we will dig much deeper into the actual application and give you more details on how that will work. Hosting today's session will be myself. I'm Harriet Musgrove, pleased to meet everybody, and my colleague Hannah Fortune. We are the Accelerator Program Managers for the Clean Futures program. Okay, and what we'll do now is I'll give you a quick introduction into Connected Places Catapult, who is leading on Clean Futures.
For millennia, cities have been places where bright ideas spark. From the earliest riverside trading posts that turned into today's sprawling megacities in the digital global economy. Cities can create positive experiences for people, always connected by technology. And when connected places work well, it's good for people and the planet. But making a connected place succeed is hard. There's loads of stakeholders, businesses, regulators and community groups who want to be involved across every mode of transport, every type of building, the infrastructure that underpins them, and the data and digital platforms that connect them. All of this is needed to help people, communities, neighbourhoods and local businesses to prosper. Now, more than ever, we need our connected places to succeed. We are in a climate emergency. Rapid urbanisation means 3/4 of us will be living in a city by 2050. And new technologies are revolutionising the way that we live, the way we work, and the way we travel, creating fantastic opportunities for innovation, jobs and growth. At Connected Places Catapult, we connect people, places and businesses for a future of sustainable growth and prosperity. We are the UK's innovation accelerator for cities, transport and place leadership. We are trusted across government, industry and academia, connecting new technologies, business models and investment opportunities. So join with us and be better connected for a future of sustainable growth and prosperity.
Okay, fantastic. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea about us. I do just want to quickly make a note. There is a Q&A function. So if any point at any time during this webinar you have any questions, please just pop those into the Q&A. Please make sure you use the Q&A function rather than the chat. Any questions that go in the chat might get lost or not answered. So please do make sure you're putting them in the Q&A part of it. Okay, so exactly as the video said, we are Connected Places Catapult, and we specialize in accelerator programs. So one of the things that we are always keen to do is to give technical and market expertise, helping SMEs drive change and accelerate their businesses through convening power. So we will connect SMEs to market actors, to commercial partners, to funding opportunities and to policymakers. And that is absolutely what Clean Futures is all about. Next slide, please. So now that you know a little bit about us, we'll go through the program in a bit more detail. So the Clean Futures Accelerator is split into two distinct areas. We're looking to help support the West Midlands transport sector transition away from fossil fuel into cleaner tech. And we do that through an Accelerator program, which is what this webinar is about, and also the Clean Futures Catalyst. So the Accelerator is here to help 40 SMEs in testing and trialing innovative solutions and giving them commercial and technical support throughout a period of 6 months. We are now on our second cohort, and we're looking to give each of those SMEs 50,000 in funding to do their trials. The catalyst itself is much more about what surrounds that. So this is complementary to the Accelerator and is designed to bring together local businesses within the West Midlands, industry partners, service providers, local government bodies, and really focus on the wider impact of creating a cleaner transport sector within the West Midlands and how we can actually facilitate that. And we're actually looking to do that through numerous events and programs and upskill essentially the region in sustainability and net zero. Next slide, please. So the Accelerator program, as I've said, we are now looking to, we're currently in an open call for our second cohort. We're looking to select up to 20 SMEs between TRL 5 and 7. If you are unsure in any way of what the TRL stages are, you can do a quick Google and find that out. My colleague will actually go into those in a little bit more detail later. But we also have an application support guidance document that details those, which we can send out following the webinar. The program itself will be set to run from August of this year to February of next. It is very important that it is a challenge-led accelerator. So essentially, all applicants need to be making sure that they address at least one challenge of the program. It is a tiered delivery, so it's actually split into two areas. We have 2 months to design the project test and the project trial, and then 4 months to test and showcase your solution. As we said, this is a funded program, so that we are offering 50,000, up to 50,000 of funding, and that does have to be matched in kind. Again, we'll go into that in more detail. And what really makes this program very special is you'll have access to world-leading testing facilities with both of our partners, BCIMO and Coventry University. BCIMO is the Black Country Innovative Manufacturing Organization, and both of our partners will detail later exactly what that looks like, what their facilities are, and what you have access to as part of this program. And as we said, the entire program will allow you to have bespoke technical development and support, as well as commercial support and access to market. Next slide, please. So why Clean Futures? What's the benefit for you? So obviously there is a financial benefit. There is a £50,000 cash contribution to running your test and trial. We have, exactly as I said, access to world-leading test facilities from both of our partners. You also get access to a greater community, both within Connected Places Catapult, BCIMO, and Coventry University, as well as the wider Clean Futures Catalyst community. So you can create some fantastic collaborations, which we've already seen happening from our first cohort. You will get commercial support to help grow your business, and this is bespoke and created especially for you and to gain opportunities that you need. You will have many opportunities to showcase your solutions, and we'll actually end with a real clear demonstration of your solutions to relevant stakeholders, investors, and partners. We will help you increase your investment readiness throughout the program. So if investment is something that you are eager to do, this program is really well suited for you. And then we will also help you. We work directly with buyers and the supply chain. So this program is very, very focused on not just the testing of on the technical side, but how we can help you actually get procured and get into those supply chains and access to cutting edge research and responding to the real world challenges that buyers are raising throughout. Next slide, please. So a quick breakdown of the program structure. So as I said, it is a 6-month program. The selection period will finish during July, and the confirmation of the cohort will be within July, and we'll go through the key dates a little bit later. So the first phase is, as I said earlier, is the project design. So this is where you will work with our partners to design exactly what your trial will look like, what exactly you will test, how you will work with our partners, their facilities, and the technical needs for your test and trial. As well as that, you will also have our welcome day, an insight day where you will be able to engage with the support and the business support, commercial support that will be available in the program. And then we will do a bit of a needs assessment so we can help you plug any gaps. And this is where support for investment and those commercial sides will come in. And then the second phase is all about actual trial implementation. So doing your test and your trial with the partners alongside bespoke support and one-to-one workshops, events, business coaching, etc. And we will finish with a demo day. So the trial itself is 4 months with the project design 2 months. And now I believe I'm handing over to Pierre to run through the challenges of this second cohort and what we're looking for.
Thank you, Harriet. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me all right. My name is Pierre, and I was leading the challenge setting for cohort 1 and now cohort 2 of Clean Futures. So my background is in strategy and innovation consulting, and I also work in education, teaching MBA and master's students things associated with business. And then for the purpose of this accelerator, I'll also be supporting with some of the coaching on investment readiness and strategy. So for the accelerators for this round, we have 3 main challenges and 1 open challenge as well, just to make sure that we don't miss any really interesting and exciting innovations that are a great fit for the accelerator, just because we didn't think to mention them in these specific challenges. So first, we'll start with a short version, and then we'll zoom in on each challenge separately. The first challenge is on clean and efficient vehicle manufacturing and assembly. So here we're looking at any type of technology that can contribute to manufacturing different types of vehicles much more sustainably. So that could be things that are enablers, things that maybe reduce the energy utilization of a factory, process optimization, new materials, etc. Number 2, designing or producing cost-effective solutions for a clean transportation infrastructure. This challenge is a little bit more oriented toward rail, and in particular developing new rail, but also retrofitting and maintaining existing infrastructure. And when I say rail, that cuts across any type of rail, whether it's very light rail, or traditional heavy rail. Third challenge, we have future fuels. So any technology associated with producing, storing, transporting, or utilizing any cleaner fuels than what we have in place today. And then finally, we have an open challenge. So the goal of the open challenge, again, is to make sure that we don't restrict innovation through any lack of creativity on our side. You can apply it if you have a challenge which you believe is a good fit for the accelerator, even if it doesn't fit into any of the other 3. So this could be anything that I'll explain in more detail in a moment, but anything that would be a good fit with the BCIMO or the Coventry University testing facilities, and which generally fits with the vision of the accelerator, focusing on clean futures, of course, and sustainable technologies. Let's go to the next slide. So zooming in on the first challenge a little bit, this challenge is, like I said, around clean and efficient vehicle manufacturing and assembly. So this could be, for example, companies that are bringing a technology or a component from traditionally fueled vehicles, non-sustainable vehicles, and applying them for sustainable vehicles or EVs. When we talk about vehicles, it could be really any type, whether it's for automotive, micromobility, rail, of course, or really anything you could think of. And these technologies could be either directly contributing to the vehicles themselves or enablers if they support the factory, or if they could be applied for vehicles, even if they're not directly being applied for that immediately. Other examples would be more sustainable ways of producing materials used for vehicles, of course, and alternative materials as well. Elements around increasing the sustainability of heating and energy utilization in factories, which is very, very impactful and an important part of the West Midlands 2041 strategy, Net Zero 2041, that is. We're also looking for local manufacturers that are looking to transition their traditional technologies to be more sustainable. And finally, last but not least, anything that could contribute to the circular economy of transport. So utilizing any components that are maybe quite impactful in terms of pollution or carbon emissions at the end of their life cycle, especially batteries, which are potentially underutilized today in the circular economy. So anything that could contribute to the circular economy of transport would be a fantastic fit for this challenge. Let's move on to the next slide. So challenge number 2 around greener transport infrastructure is focused on anything that contributes to making transport infrastructure more sustainable. So we're mostly looking at rail here, but any type of transport infrastructure could be a good fit. And when we say infrastructure, like I mentioned at the start, we're looking at anything related to new build. So anything that could reduce the disruption of utilities, for example, that could make building new track or building new rail infrastructure more cheap or more sustainable in general. Secondly, we're looking at anything to do with retrofitting existing infrastructure, trying to retrofit any existing infrastructure that may be very high emission or maybe inefficient in other ways and make it more sustainable. And then finally, anything related to maintaining current infrastructure more sustainably. In case things are not set to be replaced anytime soon, we still want to maintain them in the most efficient way possible, in the most sustainable way possible as well. So a couple of specific examples would be anything to do with reducing the material usage as well and making the materials used more sustainable. I think most of us might know that concrete, for example, which can be used in many cases for infrastructure, is responsible for a huge proportion of emissions. So anything that could reduce the amount of concrete being used or replace that would be a fantastic fit. Anything to do with building the track itself, of course, could be impactful in the case of rail infrastructure, and generally reducing infrastructure requirements. If there are ways to require less infrastructure in order to build a perfectly effective system, that would be a very good fit as well, because it means that even if it isn't perfectly sustainable, we need less of it. It could still be something that would make a big difference. Let's move to the next page. So the third specific challenge is around future fuels. So here we're looking at any technology that could reduce the utilization of traditional fuels effectively. And that could be by producing, transporting, utilizing, or storing alternative fuels. Obviously, in a perfect world, we'd be moving directly to the most sustainable possible fuels, like green hydrogen. In practice, we can still accept more intermediary solutions that are still an improvement over the status quo. For example, biofuels or synthetic fuels. So here, a few examples would be local production of hydrogen to increase its affordability, retrofitting vehicles today that are already in use to make them use sustainable fuels instead of, for example, diesel, applying alternative fuels for EV charging infrastructure, so making sure that our scope 2 emissions are as low as possible, increasing the accessibility of alternative fuels. So even if a vehicle is able to use an alternative fuel, it may not be able to access it consistently in the area. More efficient storage and transportation, of course, of any fuels, making sure that, again, they can actually be used effectively, even if they are produced. And then finally, potentially applying any fuels from different industries to rail or to automotive. For example, applying innovative fuels from aircraft or from maritime. Let's move to the final slide. So the last challenge that we have is an open challenge. And the goal here is to make sure that, like I mentioned, any challenge area that we may have missed, any innovation which would be a great fit for Clean Futures, but we didn't specifically call out in the previous challenges, can still be considered and still apply. So the goal here is to make sure that any applicant will still be within the vision and within the scope of Clean Futures, which means that they should be sustainable technologies which can be tested using the facilities of BCIMO or Coventry University, or would very much benefit from the expertise of either of those organizations. So in order to show that they're a good fit for the vision of the whole accelerator, They should be aligned with the West Midlands Net Zero Strategy for 2041, which will be linked in the document, and you'll be receiving the document after this session. And generally, we just want to make sure that we consider and include a very wide array of different innovations and exciting SMEs or exciting companies that can contribute to a greener future. That's it for me.
Okay, fantastic. And if we can now invite Alec from BCIMO to run through the facilities.
Hi, thanks, Peter. Thanks, Harriet. And welcome to everybody to the application support webinar today. So that's my name on screen there. So it's Alec Gillam, and I am Strategic Development Partner and Catalyst Lead for the Black Country Innovative Manufacturing Organisation. So what I'm going to intend to do over the next few minutes is give you a flavour of some of the technical support and resources that are available over our Black Country Innovative Manufacturing Organisation. So the Black Country Innovative Manufacturing Organisation, BCIMO, which is a little bit of a mouthful, is a not-for-profit company limited by guarantee, and it's the parent organisation, the controlling organisation for the Very Light Rail National Innovation Centre, which is located in Dudley. For those people who don't know what Dudley is, it's to the west of the West Midlands, west of Birmingham, where we have a brand new, state-of-the-art, £32 million purpose-built centre situated at the heart of the Black Country that offers a unique facility for rail test and development of products and innovation. So we have a series of engineering laboratories, service offices, and event suites. In addition to, you can see on the picture there, a standard gauge rail track which goes through the building into the engineering halls and out the other side of the building through into the engineering tunnel. Next slide, please. Okay, so facilities available at the Very Light Rail National Innovation Centre. As it says on the slide, it is one only facility of its kind in the UK. So in terms of a USP, we've got quite a big one. Ground floor of the engineering hall, together with rail track testing, comprises rail test development site offer. And we offer a range of facilities to support the development and testing of future rail technologies. So as alluded to Harriet's observation earlier around the earlier TRL technology readiness level for businesses, where we progress up into the higher technology readiness levels and actual live testing and deployment. So to enable us to do this, we have exemption from the Office of Road and Rail, which means that companies can develop and test your railway innovations in what is known as an appropriate rail environment. We're not part of the mainline rail system. We are off-grid, but it does offer all the facilities of a standard gauge rail test site. So we have a range of firsts at the centre, which include a 15-metre radius loop and a rapid overhead battery charger. So these are innovations that are supporting the development of the next generation of light rail systems, which are known as very light rail systems. So the 15-metre radius loop, which you'll see on site, is available to help companies test for various kind of engineering disciplines, such as wheel screech and torque testing of vehicles. So you'll see these on the site. In terms of expertise, we offer fully independent and multidisciplinary technical advice and assistance to assist you to progress through to product acceptance and commercialization. So, as I said earlier, to allow you to bring your products or innovation from concept to realization. So we take an integrated systems approach to developing future transport systems. So working with the Light Rail Centre and the actual mainline rail or traditional rail. We look at the integration of multimodal transport systems. So we don't work in isolation. We're looking at the interface, the interaction between light rail, heavy rail, and traditional and even high-speed rail. So we look at the bigger picture with regards to the development in terms of the future transport planning. So next slide, please. Okay, this picture just shows a couple of the test vehicles that we have on site, which include things such as the mule vehicle on the top left there, you can see, which is a biomethane propulsion powertrain system, so aimed at sustainable fuels, or future fuels. And then we have actually got on site, it says coming soon, T69, but we do actually have one of the last generation of Midland Metro trams on site now, which is currently being refurbished towards electrification and battery technology. So you'll see a number of vehicles on site where you could possibly test your innovation and new product development. Next slide, please. Okay, so just a couple of the facilities on site, which include the actual split level platform and the mobility hub. So the split level platform is suitable for heavy rail and light rail tram testing. And this interface between the passenger access and egress is particularly important for all categories of rail. So this is something of a unique facility where we can look at the interaction between passengers boarding and exiting trains. On the right there, you can see the mobility hub, which has a number of applications and opportunities for companies developing mobility and split level platform access and egress. Next slide, please. Okay, so not particularly good representation, but this is nearly a 1 kilometer long 5-arch Victorian tunnel, which is part of our test site. So that facility is absolutely unique in terms of people seeking to test innovations which are related to construction, track and infrastructure. So things such as drone testing, visual scanning, 3D representation, 3D modeling of tunnels, which in terms of rail travel are a particularly lucrative opportunity for people developing technologies that can assist the maintenance of these assets. So on the right of the picture there, you can see a world first. So we do actually have a 450 kilowatt overhead charging capability on the rail test site, which is actually borrowed, or that technology was migrated from the automotive sector, where it actually was used to charge electric vehicles on buses and coach travel. So we've now have that facility which is being used to charge electric and batterification of our light rail systems. So again, this is particularly disruptive in terms of technologies going forward, with Coventry Very Light Rail system being the first in the UK which will be operated on battery electrification without any overhead catenary and power. Next slide, please. Okay, just a couple of facilities you can see there, which include 2.2 kilometers of track. And yeah, I suppose the main takeaway from this, from people looking at this webinar today, is that although we focus upon light rail systems, very light rail systems at the centre, we do offer standard gauge rail. So anybody looking to develop products or services into the rail sector, we do have standard gauge rail. So it isn't just light rail or very light rail systems. You will have full access to standard gauge rail test facilities. Next slide, please. Okay, nothing particularly to say about that, other than we do have a very, very large engineering hall, which is capable of housing a number of rolling stock vehicles at any one given time. Does include 40-meter maintenance, track and underground access to vehicles. So we've got some pretty heavy gauge railway assets available on the site. So you know, we're not playing at this. We're serious in terms of our technological capability. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so just a couple of headlines there. So we have a large engineering hall, test facilities, laboratories, service space available, and event suites and auditorium and exhibition hall, which are all available at the centre. And in terms of BCIMO, we offer multidisciplinary engineering and project management facilities, as well as access to full-scale rail test facilities on site. Next slide, please. Okay, very quickly. So we have 2 support workshops which may be of interest to companies looking to develop products or services into the rail sector through the Clean Futures programme. First one is actually next week, 21st of May, which is looking at Clean Futures applications. So companies, if they wish to come along, all this is available online. Just click the link and you can register to attend a place next Tuesday, actually 21st, where we'll give you more detail, a tour of the test facilities, and also could potentially help understand your potential application. Next slide, please. And there we go. So finally, we do have a best practice workshop running on the 28th of May this month, which has been developed through the Catalyst, Clean Futures Catalyst program, which is looking at light rail and very light rail systems, where we will be joined by the largest operator in the region, Midlands Metro Alliance. We also have UK Tram, who are the trade association for the light rail sector in the UK. And we're hoping to have representation from Birmingham Centre for Rail Research around future technologies in rail. So again, I'd encourage anybody interested in any of these areas to take a look at that link and register a place today. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Alec. And now we will hand over to our other partners, which is Coventry University. So I'll hand over to Marcus.
Hi, everybody. Marcus Kaufman here from Coventry University. So I'll be presenting a little bit about our test facilities and engineering center at Coventry University. So if we can just move on to the starting slide, please. Yeah, the next one. Okay, so just to set the scene. So in Coventry University, we have a very strong track record of collaboration with industry. And in particular, we have 3 key areas of research and engineering where we have translational centers. So these translational centers are designed to be outreach engineering centers where we put our research facilities and skills to good use for applied research in partnership with our partners. So for the purposes of the Clean Futures project and the Accelerator, there will be 2 parts of our translational infrastructure, if you like, being made available for potential partners. So the first one on the left-hand side is our translational center with FEV, which is a German automotive consultancy company, where we do most of our research in e-mobility and clean growth. So battery systems, electric machines, power electronics, hydrogen fuel cells, and system integration. We'll also be contributing in terms of our research facilities in manufacturing materials. So these are the ones that you see on the center and right of the kind of red box in there. So in that group, we have fundamental materials and manufacturing capabilities around materials engineering, sustainable manufacturing, technology and innovation management, lasers and joining, digital manufacturing engineering, and measurement science in our metrology team. So that's just to set the scene. We are not putting SMEs and startups directly into research projects. We are actually relying upon our infrastructure for translation of fundamental research into applied projects for use in this project. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So just to get into a little bit more detail on those facilities. So the first facility related to our Center for Manufacturing Materials is the Institute for Advanced Manufacturing Engineering, or AME for short. So this is a 4,000 square meter building, which is based inside a manufacturing plant here in Coventry. So it's off the main campus in an industrial site where we have all of our labs and we have industry representative equipment for testing across our 7 key areas of research that you see on the right-hand side in there. So we've been here on this site since 2014, so 10 years now. We have done over 120 million pounds of industry research projects, and we generated a lot of jobs and technologies that are now in the market. So we have experience on taking technologies from TRL and MRL 5, 6, all the way to TRL MRL 9, okay? If we move on to the next slide, please. So this is our facilities with FEV, CALPS, the Center for Advanced Low Carbon Propulsion Systems, is based in our Technopark, just outside the Ring Road in Coventry. So in this building, we have all of our facilities for energy storage system testing. So from battery cell manufacturing, cylindrical pouch and prismatic, all the way to battery cyclers and testing capability. We also have our power electronics labs, and we have our engine testing and battery e-machine testing areas. And we have also our electric machines testing capability, inverters, and a bunch of other power electronic capabilities that we'll flash through in a minute on these slides containing the detail. So the message, I guess, I'm trying to convey here is we have a lot of kit and a lot of capability that might be useful for startups and SMEs based in the West Midlands, trying to develop products and develop manufacturing processes to scale up those products and industrialize them. We would be very keen to talk to anybody interested in more detail, and also to try to arrange, if necessary, one-to-one meetings on the sites to look at the equipment and the capabilities we have. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So I have a series of slides there just to highlight some of the core capabilities that we have. So starting with manufacturing metrology. So if you are developing a product, designing a new product, planning how you're going to make and measure the quality of that product, we have a team of specialists here and a fully kitted lab with about 5 million pounds of kit in there that can really help with that. So just some of our key pieces of equipment on the right-hand side. Hopefully, some of it will be familiar to people in the call. If we move on to the next slide, from manufacturing metrology, we also have capabilities on laser processing and welding and joining. In particular, we have been doing a lot of work on battery cell manufacturing, so designing laser processes for particular combinations of cell to bus bar manufacturing at large scale. So we've been developing processes in there for high-end automotive applications, so very high power, high capacity battery packs. We have 3 main laser systems, 1 kilowatt, 1.5 kilowatt, and 4 kilowatt fully automated cells. We also do a lot of work on adhesion and laser processing in terms of wettability and contact adhesion for material interfaces, if you like. So that's our laser processing team. If we move on to the next slide, please. There is quite a few of these, so we'll have to pick up pace, I think. Sustainable manufacturing. So Stephen here with me in the room, he leads our sustainable manufacturing group. There is a host of capabilities in there, from sustainability assessments to decision models to strategies on how to design and how to recycle and how to reuse materials and how to optimize processes and decarbonize plants. So a host of very good capabilities that if you are designing a new factory or if you are designing a new product, you would benefit from. If we move on to the next team. Our structure integrity and non-destructive testing team has a lot of material characterization and testing capabilities. So from destructive methods that we have here in this building to non-destructive that you will be seeing on that slide in there. We have fully kitted metallurgy labs, and then we have the material testing labs that you see on the screen there. So fatigue, residual test, microstructure, forensic engineering in terms of understanding material capabilities and stress loads and crack propagation. We have a number of areas of expertise if you're looking into new materials or very extreme applications of existing materials. If we move on to the next one, please. Digital manufacturing. So this is a very broad area of expertise that we have, where we have software and hardware to allow us to go from designing of products to designing of factories to simulating those factories and trying to stress test them, if you like, in terms of different volume profiles and different assumptions as to what volumes and what processes you should select to have a sustainable manufacturing process to make your products. So we have been doing a lot of work on digital twinning, and particularly digital planning and virtual commissioning of new facilities and new products. So we would be very happy to talk to anyone interested in utilizing some of those digital capabilities. If we move on to the next slide, please. Functional materials and chemistry. We have a fully set up chemistry lab on site where we develop specific methods for coating and for metallization, for actually testing materials, developing new electrodes, particularly when it comes to hydrogen electrolysis systems and fuel cell materials. So we would be keen to talk to people looking at coating technologies, and particularly on hydrogen production, if there is anyone in the call interested in that. If we move on to the next slide, please. Battery and supercapacitor prototyping. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a fully kitted lab where we can produce our own cells with bespoke chemistry inside them. On the images there, we are showing cylindrical cells at the bottom, but we also can produce bespoke pouch cells and prismatic cells in that production line. So if you're interested in testing or making cells for testing using new and novel chemistry, new and novel materials, we can help with that. Moving on to the next slide, please. Cell and module testing. So we have a very large number of cell cyclers, and we have our own bespoke sensing technology that we can add to a cell whilst we cycle them to actually try to predict what their life cycle is likely to be and what the benefits of potential materials and chemistry combinations inside the cells. So this area is fully available as part of this project as well. If we move on to the next slide. Finally, we have a very large hydrogen testing lab and a fuel cell system and subsystem testing capacity in our C-Alps building. So we have a number of projects going through that lab at the moment where we are developing fuel cell systems, but also components for industrial partners. So the team there is highly capable and used to work with industry. We would welcome any ideas in terms of potential projects that might utilize those labs. And what you see on the bottom left in there is actually a hydrogen fuel storage solution that we have and a gas farm set up in that building so that we can fuel and produce hydrogen to use on fuel cells there. Moving on to the next one, and I hope this is coming to an end because I'm running out of voice. We have electric motor testing capabilities in our dyno area in the same building as well. So as you see there, we can use high power dynos up to 450 kilowatts, up to large scale testing of hydrogen systems as well inside those confined test bays. I think we have access to 2 of those test bays, and we have another 2 that our industrial partners use, but that we could gain access to if necessary under this project. And then moving on, I think I'm running out of time. Electromagnetic capability, EMC and EMI chambers and capabilities as well. So that's one of our labs where we can test our power electronics sensors. There is a team specialized in that area that will be available to support any projects on power electronics and electronics in general. Next slide, please. That's more on semiconductors and characterization and modeling. So we do a lot of work with digital tools to actually help us design, test, and validate potential new systems on power electronics and some semiconductors. If we move on to the next one, please. That's it. Okay. So I think hopefully this gives you a taster of the capabilities and spaces that we have. We are running an open day on the 29th of May for companies interested in using the Coventry University facilities and team to support their Clean Futures application and project. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You got my contact in there. The QR codes will take you to the websites of the 2 research centers as well. So please, reach out to us as soon as possible. If you wish to put an application to this program, we'll be more than happy to guide you through the application process and also help your plan to make sure it is aligned to our capabilities and is feasible within the 6 months that we have to run the trials. Hopefully that covers everything. We'll be available for Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, put on the chat or save them for the Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, that's fantastic, Marcus. Sorry, I'm just bear with me while I turn my video on. Okay, fantastic. Hello, everyone. I'm going to take you through the latter part of this webinar. Harriet's kindly introduced me earlier. My name is Hannah Fortune. I work on the Clean Futures programme within the Connected Places Catapult, and I'm one of the leads within that programme. So I'm going to take you through the full timeline for the Clean Futures application process, how you can apply, our eligibility criteria for the programme, and I'll also take you through the scoring criteria that our applications are going to be marked against as well, to give you a bit of an insight there. At the end of the scoring criteria, I'm then going to invite everybody who you've heard from already back to the floor for a Q&A session. So please keep your questions coming. We can see them flowing in, so make sure you keep firing those questions away. We're happy to answer everything. Anything that we can't answer as part of the Q&A later on, we will commit to coming back to you offline. So there's no such thing as a silly question. Do just keep those questions coming. Okay, so I'm going to touch upon the application timeline then. Our opportunity was open for applications on the 30th of April, and it will remain open until midnight on the 9th of June. In between that open call time, you've heard that there will be opportunities for you to attend drop-in sessions with our partners to discuss your proposal, as well as open days, which will allow you to come and visit and view some of the fantastic testing facilities we've got on offer through this programme. If you are considering applying, I would absolutely encourage that you do take up those opportunities. Doing that will really encourage and strengthen your application when it comes to the assessment process and understanding how you might be able to work with the testing facilities that we do have on offer. So do make use of those opportunities. Once we are closed to applications, from the 10th to the 13th of June, our judges will start shortlisting, and we'll be inviting up to 30 companies to attend a second stage interview where applicants will be asked questions both about their technical and the commercial aspects of the solution that they're proposing. If you are shortlisted and successful moving forward into one of those interviews, then they will take place between the 24th of June and the 24th of June and I think it's the 4th of July. I think that's actually a typo on the screen. So due to the fast nature of the programme delivery timescales, we do have really limited flexibility around the weeks that we can conduct these interviews. So if you are planning to submit an application for this programme, please do take a photo of the screen, make note of all the interview dates, make note of all of these key dates, because there is limited flexibility in the weeks that we are able to hold these interviews. The following our interviews, week commencing the 15th of July is when you'll be starting to hear from us, so whether you've been successful or not, and we'll select our successful cohort. And if you are successful, the formal programme will commence with a welcome day on the 19th of August. So again, just to know, if you need to take a photo of this slide, we will be circulating and there's a recording of this session. But just to reiterate, if you are planning to submit an application, you will need to know these dates and hold them in your diary. Next slide, please. Okay, moving on then, I'm going to touch a little bit on how you can apply and what the eligibility criteria is. You can apply via the Connected Places Catapult website. If you head over to the opportunities page on our website, it's under the Clean Futures opportunity, and you'll find all of the information about the programme under that opportunity page. In order to apply though, you will need to meet a specific eligibility criteria for this particular programme. Firstly, you'll need to have a UK company address, quite simple. The second thing is, in order to be able to physically test at one of our partners' facilities, either BCIMO or Coventry University through this programme, you'll need to have a solution that is at TRL 5 or above. Now, if you are unfamiliar with TRL, which is Technology Readiness Levels, as Harriet mentioned earlier, you can find out a bit more about it through a quick Google search, but we will be sending out an application support document which will outline those different levels in detail. Alternatively, if that doesn't help you, just drop a message to any of the Clean Future support emails that you'll have access to at the end of this this presentation, and we're more than happy to help you with that. Next, you must be able to demonstrate how your solution helps solve one of the challenges, which with an open challenge this time around provides a much broader scope for you in terms of potential applications. Next, you'll need to be willing and able to travel within the West Midlands. It is a place-based programme, so you will have to travel for things for time. We average it around about 2 days travel a month, I would say, for events, but it'll be things like business support workshops, welcome days, so on and so on. Your solution or your technology must be testable with one of our 2 partners facilities that we have on offer through the programme, which is why it is so important that you take advantage of these drop-in sessions and the open days that we do have available, so that you can come and see the facilities, how your solution might be tested within those facilities, and how our partners might be able to help you. So do make use of those opportunities. And then finally, you must be able to match fund the £50,000 investment funding that you get through this programme. And just to be super clear around this, that does not mean we're expecting applicants to contribute £50,000 in cash, but you must be able to at least demonstrate how you would allocate £50,000 worth of support to the programme and the project that you will be testing through Clean Futures. So that might be perhaps through materials that you've got, or labour costs that you're allocating to project delivery, or donations potentially from your supply chain in terms of equipment or materials, all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the required eligibility criteria in order to be actually eligible for the programme. There is a desirable aspect to it as well, and it would really strengthen your application further if you're able to demonstrate your commitment and impact the solution that you're proposing will have on the West Midlands ecosystem. So perhaps your registered company address is there, your core supply chain is based within the West Midlands, your main office location is there, which you work out of day to day. Perhaps the testing of your solution will allow you to then contract with key suppliers of the supply chain within the West Midlands. You get the gist. You just have to be able to really demonstrate an operational presence in the West Midlands to score higher marks. Okay, so that's pretty much everything on how to apply. I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Jericho, who I believe is on the call, and she's going to run you through the application platform itself and what you can expect from that when you do access the platform.
Hi, Hannah. Yes, so I'm Jericho, and I work with Skipso, and we facilitate the application website that also hosts Clean Futures application form. So as Hannah already mentioned, you'll need to access the main CPC website in order to come over to Skipso. I'm just going to share screen real quick. Oh, sorry, I think I need screen sharing permissions.
Gail, are you able to give Jericho screen sharing permissions?
It's
Yeah,
just not
sorry,
allowing
not
me
allowing
to at
me.
the moment.
Okay.
It's telling me that I can't share screen without the presentation to stop sharing. I don't know if that's possible. Let me try again. Okay, can everyone see my screen now?
We can.
Yeah. Awesome. So I've just begun starting a bit of the form. A lot of you have probably already seen the form before, but just as an example, I'm gonna move this out of the way, but I've already completed some of the fields, and on the left-hand side, you can see the different sections of the application. Something we always recommend doing is after you've completed as much as you'd like from a certain section to save draft. Let me just refresh. So once you've completed information, you can save draft here and you'll get a success notification. You can also skip ahead through the application. So if you have the materials ready for discussion for due diligence, you can skip ahead to that section and complete what you want from this area. And you'll notice, for example, certain responses will trigger follow-up questions. Those will also need to be answered. Another thing I just wanted to highlight was relating to word count. You will get an error message if there is a word count for a question and you've entered in more than that question will allow. It'll also crop your answer to fit the maximum allowed. Another thing that's just best practice, I just wanted to highlight is once you have completed your section, what will happen is on the left-hand side, you'll see a check mark. So if I've completed this company information section and I've moved forward to section 2, this section will appear with a check mark so I can keep track of which sections I've completed, especially if I've been skipping around. Once you get to the end of the application form, that's the place where you'll then be able to submit. Something that's best practice that we always recommend is if you're sitting down to fill out a portion of this application form, but you don't complete it, and you're planning on exiting the tab, so maybe you have a meeting or you're closing your laptop or something of that nature, if you leave the tab idle, and then you come back to the tab and try to enter in data, that data won't save. So what you need to do is every time you're done making edits is to save the draft, and the form does save itself regularly. So it's not a concern if you leave and the data would save. It's more a concern of if you come back and enter data into the same tab. Does that make sense? So we're just looking for a quick save and refresh of the same page, and then you're good to go and continue your application. I believe I've shared a slide that can be distributed, but you'll go back to the main website to see your draft application and you can access that from there. I'm happy to also answer any specific questions on the Q&A. See if there's any other areas to highlight. You can also navigate here, previous step, next step. And access any relevant links. If you do enter information into a question and it's not allowing you for whatever reason, I know there's a logo upload question here. I'll show you. For example, here, when you add your logo, if you've added, for example, an incorrect image, you can quite easily click remove and it'll remove the image for you. You can just confirm, and you'll be able to add another image. Some questions have specific formatting rules. So maybe certain questions only allow you to input numbers. If you input letters into that, it might give you an error. If you think that you are using the correct formatting, then of course you can obviously reach out. You might be experiencing an issue. I think that's all from me. Just remember to save draft. And do reach out if you encounter any issues. Certain questions will also allow formatting. So if you think it would make sense, for example, this question asks you to cover the proposed timeline. You could use formatting to make that bold and continue with the rest of your application. Awesome. I think I'll pass that back to Hannah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jericho. And if you wouldn't mind sticking around for the Q&A, I think that'd be really useful. I know that we've got a question already around Skipso support. That's fantastic. Okay, then. Back to me. The final thing I was going to talk through before we break out into the Q&A with everybody is the scoring criteria for the opportunity. Applications will initially be assessed across 6 key themes, which you can see on the screen with their associated weighting. And I just thought it would be useful to touch upon these 6 areas with a couple of things you might want to think about if you are considering submitting an application. So the first of the themes is program fit. So we're looking for how well does your proposal fit to the scope of what we want to achieve through Clean Futures? Does it demonstrate how it will have a tangible impact on the West Midlands, as an example? Trial plan is another heavily weighted area, and we're looking at the feasibility of your trial. So how feasible is the trial that you're proposing? Is it clear how you're going to use the available facilities to test your product and solution, which is why it's so important to try and attend some of these open days and engage with our partners during this application process, so BCRMO and Coventry University, so that you can clearly outline how you will use their facilities. We'll be looking at the risk level that your proposal proposes to us, or what identified risks have been put into that proposal, and how have you supported the mitigation activities that you've identified. The next area is solution. So is it clear what your solution is? Is it clear what it's actually going to do? Is it innovative? Does it clearly solve one of the challenges that we are looking to achieve through the programme? Traction and investment readiness. So are you generating any traction around your solution already? If you are generating traction, is there any sort of evidence you can use to back that up in terms of like letters of intent from suppliers, for example? Team, does your proposed team have the relevant experience to facilitate the proposed trial that you're proposing? Do the skills and the knowledge that has been outlined within the application demonstrate confidence and competence in delivery? And then finally, business model, which is the lower weighting aspect of the initial assessment and selection. But we're looking for, does the proposal have a robust business model? Does it appear to be realistic to support our future plans? Is it profitable, etc.? So that's just some examples, I guess, of what we are looking for within the 6 weighted areas. Now, we are a couple of minutes over, so I won't go into this too much more. We are going to be releasing a supporting guidance document for the application that you can, again, find these associated weightings within. So what I'm going to do now, if we wouldn't mind moving on to the next slide, please. I'm just going to invite everybody back to the floor. So all presenters, so all of our partners, Harriet, Jericho, if you can all turn your cameras back on and join me for the Q&A function. We're going to start answering some of your questions live now. So please keep those questions coming. And yeah, thank you ever so much for listening.
It would also be fantastic if the partners can join us as well for any technical or facility specific questions. Okay, Hannah, so we have quite a few. One of the first questions that was raised is, do we help the SMEs sign up for partners during that initial phase, or do they have to have partners already lined up?
Okay, so when we're talking about needing to engage with partners, we're referring to both Coventry University and BCIMO. So our testing partners as part of Clean Futures is what we're looking for in the application. So have you identified which one of our two partners that we have on offer to support you through this programme is going to be able to support you the best through the proposal that you are putting forward to us in the application form? So you do not need to have, obviously it strengthens your application if you've already got partnerships going on across the West Midlands that generates impacts and demonstrates that wider impact, but it's not I guess, an eligibility criteria for you to have all of these additional partners outside of the ones that we are providing for you.
Fantastic. Another question we have is dual fuel ammonia engines in scope under future fuels? And I don't know whether this is maybe more of a Coventry University one, as I don't even know what that is. So
I think it depends on what the person wants to do with the dual fuel engine. So if it's testing and ratification of credentials of performance, then I think there's things that we can do to help there. But again, it depends on the application. So it might be if it's an application dual fuels for rail application, then you'd be going back towards BCIMO and what they can facilitate at their site.
Yeah, we do have a research line focused on hydrogen generation from ammonia, and we have all the setup to test it and to operate with ammonia gases on our labs. We then have the engine dyno base that we can use, but we would need to look into the detail, as Stephen said, as to what is it that you need to do. Feel free to reach out to us individually, and we can explore in more detail.
Alex, sorry, before we move on, do you have anything that you were wanting to add to that? Or
Not really. I think Marcus and Stephen have covered it. It's in terms of blending fuels to generate, lower emissions. This could equally apply to the automotive and the rail sector, or indeed marine. So just have to look at the particular application. But like Marcus and Stephen said, the theory is similar.
Fantastic. Another question we have here, Hannah, is should we highlight on the application in case our tech is applicable across multiple challenges?
Yeah, so it's always good to highlight if you're addressing more than one of the challenges identified. I think though, what we would suggest is you can identify multiple challenges that it's supporting, absolutely, but maybe try have a chat to our partners through the opportunities that you've got available, both BCIMO and Coventry University, and identify which is the best fit for your solution. What gives you the strongest application here? Which of these challenges do you think you're best meeting? And if it's equal, you find yourselves equally split across two, that's fine. Like, when you don't have to just align to one of them, but experience from previous I guess assessments is that the stronger you can make your one application rather than trying to distribute it across loads of different things, the easier you'll probably find that application process.
Fantastic. And just another one on challenges. So Pierre, I don't know if you are on the call, but probably
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. So 3 questions around challenges. The first one is challenge 1. Would these use cases be in scope? One, which is ICE car drivers, consumers find if electric vehicles can meet their range needs, or B, data for EV OEMs to get battery right sizing data. So maybe just finish there for the first one. I don't know. Please.
So my first thought on that is B seems like it could definitely be a good fit, but the main question here is whether you would benefit at all from the testing facilities. So maybe I'll pass the question on to CU, probably the best fit. What do you think, Marcos and Stephen?
It's good.
Yeah, I think in practice it would fit. So we have, as I mentioned, a team on digital twins, digital product passports, We have a team on life cycle analysis for batteries. We would be interested in talking. It sounds like a fit, but we would need to know a little bit more detail as to what do you mean by right sizing data in the context of batteries. Yeah, but in principle, we would be happy to have a chat. No problem at all.
Yeah, I think just to add, I think, and it kind of goes back to one of the previous questions and maybe one of the others ones that looks like it's coming up, is you kind of can see in the scoring criteria, 25% of it is based on the trial plan. So I think it all comes to like the scope and the challenge kind of having a scope there, but it specifically comes down to what is the intervention you're after, what you're trying to do, as much as that target market.
Yeah, and especially what does that intervention add to you in terms of acceleration, right? There might be things that you are interested in doing, but they don't fit on your critical pathway to acceleration, and perhaps you would score a lower score if we focus on those. And there might be things that are critical for you to move on from a TRL 5 to 6 or to 7, which might require physical prototyping, physical instrumentation, physical data collection and processing and decision making. So those kind of details is what we would need to really say, yeah, this is in scope and we think is a viable opportunity. So unfortunately, we cannot do justice to give you a direct answer here on this call. We can just say, yes, have confidence to contact us and we'll have a discussion.
And hopefully I think the second question, my answer would actually be identical, that it depends whether you can really benefit from testing with the Coventry University team, and similar for the Open Challenge. I think that number one does actually fit within challenge number one, because obviously it does actually contribute to reducing emissions, reducing scope 3 emissions in the production of vehicles if you use a smaller battery, for example. And for challenge 2, it absolutely does fit, so long as it meets the general criteria that you can benefit from testing with Coventry University in this case.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for answering that one. So another quick question. What sort of metallurgy related facilities are available at BCIMO Coventry University within the Clean Futures Accelerator remit? I think the answer might be slightly similar to the previous things, but I'll just hand over to Coventry to respond.
Yeah, we can go first. So metallurgy wise, we have access to an EDM machine to cut samples. We have potting machines, polishing, sanding. We then have a range of microscopes, from desktop microscopes, desktop SEMs, full-size SEMs, full range of analytical and measurement kit in our metallurgy lab. We also have a corrosion chamber that we can use. We have ovens as well, anything from a couple of 100 degrees C to 1400 degrees C to prepare bits for analysis, stress test them. We have a range of tensile testers that might be useful as well in combination with our metallurgy lab. So yeah, if you have any specific metallurgy needs in mind that you want to check that we can help you with, do let us know. We'll give you an answer.
And then the same question to BCIMO. Do you have any metallurgy related facilities?
Yeah, no. So this one squarely sits within the Coventry camp. So materials and metallurgy is definitely a university and research much better positioned than ourselves. So yeah, that part initially, obviously the selection of materials and the properties, etc., all relevant, but that early stage analysis should I would say sit with Coventry.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we have a quick question for you, Jericho, just as a quick change. So one of the questions is, does Skipso oversee the TRIG applications? And can you please share a support email, as I think they are having problems with their TRIG application?
Grace, yes, we do also support the trig application. I don't know if I add something to the chat, if everyone will see it.
I don't think so, but I think we can send out an email post
You
if
can send out my email. Yeah. Yeah. So Harriet can share my email address and you can email me separately about your issue and we'll try to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, fantastic. And right off the back of that is the question, Hannah. Can our company participate in the Clean Futures project if we're also in TRIG 24 program?
Short answer, yes. Yes, there's no reason why you can't apply for 2 accelerator programs at once.
Fantastic. So this is a BCIMO based question, Alec, which is asking around, could they electrify the T69 and who would get the axle torque, where would they get the axle torque seep from, I believe. You're muted, sorry, Alec.
Sorry. Could we electrify the T69 and would we get the axle torque and seep from? It sounds a bit, I would need to refer that to the technical team, but could we electrify the T69? Well, it was electrified previously before we tried to convert it over to battery, so we might not want to convert it back over to electrification. But I can find out the exact details for sure. If this person, if I've got their email address, I will certainly ask the questions.
Okay, fantastic. Another question is, does BCIMO Light Rail have a booking ticketing API that our software could hook into, or do they have an existing service that has SDK?
Again, I'm sorry if I'm a danger of sounding a little bit blank, but this is smart ticketing is not my forte. I'm not aware that we have any linkages into any kind of APIs for smart ticketing, but I do know where you can access those facilities through the Birmingham Centre for Rail Research. So I could refer that back to the Birmingham Centre for Rail Research, but happy to pick that up in more detail with the individual who raised the question.
Okay, fantastic. And Hannah, probably best I'll do this one at you, which is, are we required to have identified partners ahead of the application, if not already signed up? Do they all need to be West Midlands based organizations? Or can there some large organizations that might only have a representative office within the West Midlands, or no office in the West Midlands? Would they also be able to be a part of it?
So I guess it kind of crosses over into my previous answer, to be honest. So to answer the first part, are we required to have identified partners ahead of application? No, you're not required to have identified partners from your end. It might strengthen your application to show traction and how you're demonstrating that to us through the application. But in terms of identifying partners, when we ask you to identify partners, we're talking about the identification of which partner you're going to be testing with from our side, so either BCIMO or Coventry University. So that answers the first part of that question. The second one, do they all partners need to be based within the West Midlands, I think was the question. Is that right?
Yeah,
no,
if they do have partners, do they need to be West Midlands based ones?
Yeah, so the short answer is no, they don't need to be. I think the overall message that we'd really like applicants to take away from this is that your overall application as a whole needs to show and demonstrate how you will impact the West Midlands. So whether that be through your partners or it be through yourselves as an entity or through your supply chain or whatever that looks like, it doesn't necessarily have to be your partners. Your partners can be based wherever they're based. As long as you're generating impact elsewhere, then that's fantastic. But if you were say you yourselves were based outside of the West Midlands, say London for example, but you're partnered with somebody within the West Midlands and you're looking to really drive that supply chain or that manufacturing supply chain in the West Midlands, then that's a really good fit as well. So it kind of works both ways is the longer answer of it, but hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thanks very much, Hannah. So another question about the open call eligibility and the open challenge, I believe, which is, would a demo build of a new micro mobility type mode that enables people to switch between existing infrastructure and integrate with transit systems be eligible? And there's a further example there for BCIMO in particular.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, as I said in my presentation, Harriet, the interface between, or intermodal transportation between light rail, heavy rail, and high-speed rail, and also road networks and other mobility solutions is all perfectly within scope as long as it demonstrates a carbon reduction. So, you know, I don't know what that vehicle looks like, but in theory, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And another question for you, Alec. And I think we're on the final question now. So if there are any more, please do put them in now, as we'll get round to it. But Alec, is there interest from the railways to discover how many of their customers are interested in going electric and providing charging in rail car parks? And or also helping rail passengers learn their carbon footprints from their rail or other public transit choices?
Ooh, that's a $6 million question, isn't it, really? So is there interest from railways to discover how the customer's interested in going electric? Well, there's moves towards, obviously, encouraging electrification of vehicles and battery vehicles. So, you know, these electric charging points are popping up in railway car parks. Not enough, I would say, but they are starting to make impact. So there's definitely an appetite for this. And also in the new station build program across the UK, it's becoming a large factor in terms of customer parking and charging facilities. So it's becoming increasingly important. Last bit, also helping rail passengers with their carbon footprints from the rail and track. Wow. I'm not sure that demand would come from the railways itself or the railway operators, but I'm sure there's plenty of software companies out there developing apps that will help people to monitor, evaluate their personal carbon footprint. So yeah, there's definitely a market developing in that space for sure. So if we could integrate the two, why not? All the better.
Yeah, and I guess just to add to that, there is the additional catalyst activities that are about discussions on those wider remit questions. So definitely would encourage you to engage with Alec outside of today's webinar, which is obviously very accelerator focused, to discuss the additional activities with the catalyst for those types of things. And then the final question was just around requesting email addresses for everyone, which we're happy to share if everybody's happy to have their emails addresses shared, which I'm sure they will be.
Okay, fantastic. So that brings us to the end of our Q&A, and as a result, this support webinar. Just to highlight before we do conclude, the open days that were mentioned by both of our partners. So we've got the BCIMO Open Day, which is on the 21st of May. It is an all-day event. You can go and see the facilities and what they've got on offer and how your proposal might be able to fit within the facilities they've got on offer there. And the Coventry University Open Day is on the 29th of May with the exact same objective. These days are all here to try and help you make sure that you could get the strongest application that you possibly can for the Clean Futures programme. So do make use of those opportunities. Any questions that we haven't been able to answer, some of those technical ones that we might want to take offline, we will come back to you. I know some people have put their questions in anonymous. Don't panic about that. What we will send it out to all of the participants in a bit of like a Word doc with any questions that we couldn't answer. Okay, and if there's no other questions, Harriet, then I think we will leave it there 5 minutes early. Thank you so much to everyone for joining. Thank you to our partners for their fantastic presentations, and we look forward to seeing your Clean Futures applications. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.